Hello everybody, buenos dias as they say here, locals. Hello, come please. Should we close the door or not? No, I mean, since the window is open. Good, so dear students and everybody, nice to meet you here in Valencia again. With some of you, we were in contact online 2 or 3 or 4 times in this group or teamwork. Eva made a short presentation about us, but she forgot to mention that we are not really this engineer type of people. I'm definitely 100% analog. My colleague is more digital, but still we are coming from the field of social sciences, and more exactly we focus on diplomacy, international relations, political science, European studies, so on. So basically today's presentation is much more connected to this, especially my part, the first 4 slides, 15-20 minutes, in which I will try to explain you a bit the importance of certain European policies, certain European strategies, and more exactly I will want to speak about the role of European cohesion. What is cohesion and how cohesion will lead us to convergence, okay? And after this little bit theoretical but very, very superficial introduction of these policies, I mean, why I say superficial? Because just imagine the European policies are taught back in our university as a discipline for 1 semester. Of course, it's not possible to speak very deeply about a European policy, bless you, or a European strategy in 15-20 minutes. I don't know what is your knowledge about this, so if you will have questions, I will gladly answer any of this. I tried to So as I told you, our presentation mainly is divided in 2 main chapters. The first one is will be presented by me, and the second one by my colleague Mirela. But in the content or in the outline of the lecture, you can see that first we will deal about European cohesion policy, evolution and major characteristics, and after that I will tell you some details about current cohesion policy debates, and of course the sustainability, because any policy, any strategy, any plan, any project what we do, it's really valuable if it's also sustainable. It's also, I mean, just to give the example about this SmartSoc project, this is all our activities are financed by European money, and all what we do here, stay in Valencia, hang out in Valencia, learn in Valencia, it's supported by the project, yes? All this should generate some results, yes? And these results are, you can find these results in the general objective of the project and also in the specific objective of the project. Mainly not only the management or the people or the staff of this project, also the target group, you are the target group here. We have 2 main tasks. First of all, to fulfill all the project activities, and second of all, to make them sustainable, yes? I mean, to not forget what we did here, what we learned here, I mean, in the next day, okay? We need to do it sustainable. Good. As I said, it is a lot of information about cohesion policy, regional development policy, and all these European strategies. I try to wrap it up somehow in a more, I mean, using some official data. This is a print screen from the European Commission's website. If those who are more interested to learn, to read, and to find out about what is this exactly, what are these European policies, I can recommend you the ec.europa.eu, which is the website of the European Commission, and you can find everything there in 23 languages. Now, am I right? 23 languages. So it's customized on every need. How does it work? How this European cohesion policy works or how it is delivered basically to us European citizens. To deliver any type of public policy, this is also at national level, we need to have some tools, instruments. Usually these tools and instruments are financial tools and instruments. Now, even back home, your domestic politicians or domestic government, when they propose a law or they propose some measures, they say, okay, we made the legal framework for it, but we need to implement it, yes? How we do it? What we do? For implementation, we always need money. So we always need to create a budget for it. The Europeans are doing it the same way. First, they created the so-called instruments, financial instruments. And you can see there that we have the European Regional Development Fund, we have the European Social Fund, and we have the Cohesion Fund. Of course, you can read about all this deeply on the slide. You will have this presentation uploaded already, so on, and you can use also the bibliography for this. But this is what you need to understand, that in our case, the Cohesion Fund invests in green growth and sustainable development and improves connectivity in member states or between member states with a GDP below 90% of the EU 27 average. Probably it seems complicated, but I'm sure that you're already familiar with things like member state. What is a member state? You are familiar with the GDP? No? You are familiar with this type of thing. Some of you can say, come on, Professor, this is something not right, because Europe is built on diversity, on equality. So how only some of the member states can use this cohesion fund? How is this possible? I mean, why the richer countries, they cannot use this? I mean, according to this rule, this 90% of the GDP average, very rich countries, they cannot really use this. It is possible, dear students, because we focus on the cohesion policy. Our main goal is to reach convergence, yes? Not to, I mean, to eliminate the development gaps between the regions, between the member states. In brackets, I need to mention that even though we speak about EU of member states, the development policies and strategies are planned at regional level, And for this, we have also a nomenclature of territorial units for statistics, the NUTS, which divides Europe in several regions. Not one region, not two regions, not three regions, so on. Mainly development and the implementation of the policies, it's happening at NOTS 2 level. Are you familiar with this from your country? For example, in Romania, Mirela and me are coming from the northwestern development region. Colleagues from Debrecen, because they are neighbors, they are coming from the Alfred development region. Do you know in your country how it's going? In Croatia, for example, in Spain? It is very important to know, because this is a decentralized mechanism. EU funds are administrated at regional level. So all these regions have a certain authority, a management authority, or an agency which coordinates the funds for different programs. Okay, so that's why it's useful. Maybe in the future, you will really want to make a startup, a small company or whatever, and you will need to ask money for it. You will not, and if you will need to ask European money for it, you will not ask from your national government or your city hall. You will ask from this type of agencies. I check the time because she needs to speak more than. She will speak about more interesting stuff. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. This is what I'm trying to tell you, why it is important to know also this type of things. It doesn't matter if you are an engineer or, I don't know, an agricultural worker, so on. Everybody who wants to deal with European money, first they need to understand the structure behind it. It's a kind of an institutional hierarchy, a structure behind it. Good. we jump. Just to see how cohesion policy worked in the development period of 2014-2020. I don't know how familiar you are, but I will with it. But I will try to tell you that Europe or the European Union is working with a multi-annual budget, which is spent in a development period. The case of Slovakia and Hungary, they joined in 2004. Romania joined in 2007. Croatia joined in 2013. The Spanish joined in 1986. All of these countries, when they joined, they entered in this multi-annual budget and development period. These are 7-year-long development periods. This was the previous one, 2014-2020. About the actual one, in brackets, I want to tell you, we don't really speak yet. First of all, we are right at the beginning. Second of all, we have so many external factors which are turning all the budgets, all the strategies, and all the plans upside down. You can ask me which are these external factors. COVID, Ukrainian-Russian conflict, energy crisis, so on, which are making the implementation of these strategies very, very hard. Actually, nowadays, the so-called European bureaucrats, this is what are they doing now. They are reconfiguring all the plans and all the strategies which were planned for 2021, 2027. But this is how this cohesion policy or cohesion funding was working. I believe that it's you can understand how much money and for what, and which were also the legal steps, maybe on the treaties. Yesterday in the evening, we had a common dinner with some of the colleagues, and just to imagine, the EU nowadays is also a big debate about reforming the treaties. Why is this very important? In our national states, we all have a constitution according which the state is working. Yes, the EU's constitution is represented by the treaty. Some say that the EU is not working anymore properly. All what we know, or all what we have, it's not feasible anymore. It's not sustainable anymore. So we need to change it. Good. I said we will not speak too much about what is going on for this development period, but still you need to understand that there are some plans which are, how to say, presented. We have 4 big priorities: modern focus, green, smart, rule of law, social rights, open data. We have the simplification. We have just 8 funds, but 1 regulation. Funds this. Yes. We have the solidarity, very, very important in a union, solidarity. And we have the democracy, the partnership principle and code of conduct at every stage of implementation. So these are the 4 main priorities. How this will be implemented, maybe all these priorities are touching us somehow at a certain level, but in the context and in the framework of our project and your future, the first one, the modern focus, it's the most important. Green, smart, rule of law, social rights, and open data. About several things coming from this priority, my colleague will speak in the future. After me, sorry. Also part of this European cohesion policy, we have the European Regional Development Fund and Cohesion Fund. These are, as I said, financial instruments which are helping or supporting the implementation of these policies in our day-to-day life, in our regions and our countries. You can see here some of the main objectives which are targeted by these funds, from access to quality health, educational, tourism and cultural services for all, to local participation and cooperation, to invest in smarter, greener, more connected, more social Europe, and also tackle social inclusion and support migrant integration. Good. Yeah, that's it. So, dear students, I put here 2 print screens in order to, I was thinking to show you still have 1 more minute. I still have 1 more minute because we agreed on 7 minutes. I wanted to show you the cohesion policy as a roof or the frame which creates this. Definitely, if you, I want to ask you, what do you see when you see this picture without the cohesion? When you see this picture, what type of feeling generates in you? I mean, in your brain, in your soul, whatever. When you see this picture, only this, without SmartSoc, without cohesion. What do you feel?
Like such a nice city, everything's working.
Okay. Anybody else?
Colorful.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will ask you: there is anybody in the room who feels something negative from this picture? Is it?
The drone.
The drone?
Yes.
Okay. So what I wanted to show or to present that. Sorry.
I was just thinking that there's no communication between peoples. I mean,
Point.
it's not.
How not? Look.
It is, but it's not.
Okay, so I please try to understand the frame. Definitely, this picture is no problem. This picture should generate some feelings like happiness, confidence, optimism, so on, so on. This is mainly, dear students, what cohesion policy promises us. Okay, so if we will keep implementing it, if we will keep going on this planned way, maybe we should reach this type of society, a Europe where everybody has a place to live, to develop, even to die. Question? If there are no questions, I stop my presentation here and my colleague will continue. Thank you. The best English is coming now.
Good morning. I want to take 30 seconds to reintroduce myself. So, hi, I'm Mirela. I'm from the University of Oradea. Thank you very much for the partners in Slovakia for having me today. My interest is digital policy in general. So I'm digital as Istvan says, but I'm more focused on public policy issues. And why is that important maybe for you as tech people? It's constructions like the European Union are doing public policy to shape some of the technologies that you are going to build after you graduate from the university. And this is my focus. I'm trying to understand what the European Union is doing to shape the way in which we use technology and we create technology, not only in Europe, but around the world. I'm also focused on smart cities, and I'm looking at what local administrations are doing to shape technology and to use technology in their own administrations. And this is actually maybe the focus of what I'm going to tell you today. I'm just going back to the content so you know what I'm going to focus about. I was also talking with Istvan before and saying that probably this lecture is going to be a little bit boring for you because it's not technical or it's not necessarily related to what you do. And I was thinking to make it a little bit more connected to what you do and make it more interesting. I'm trying to shape smart cities for you to shape it as a story, because we people, we like narratives a lot. We like to deconstruct some of the complicated things in our lives and make it into a story. So today I think I'm going to tell you the stories of smart cities in the European Union, which are a little bit different, or should be a little bit different than what we see in, I don't know, presentations from IBM or presentations from Cisco and so on. The European Union, and this is my main idea for this presentation, is trying to shape cities, and smart cities especially, with the values that the European Union is promoting in the digital space and across the world. And you're going to see a little bit of them in a minute. And that's why I'm saying here in the contents that in my presentation, and in a sense, smart cities as not only as concepts, as parts of the stories that you know about technology, but also as administrations, they are pillars in this cohesion policy, because at the local level, they shape the way in which our administration and our city is being built. Morning. And after this, I'm going to present a short case study and some practical examples to show you the connection between between what the European Union wants to do and how it's applied in a city that I studied in. I studied in my postdoctoral college. So, the progress of the presentation is going to go from the European Union to the local level. So, as you may have or maybe familiar, that we are living today in the era of the Green Deal. Everything has to be green. Technology has to be as green as possible. It should not pollute the environment, and so on. This is the major focus of the European Union, manifested in this push for climate neutrality and for the smart technologies that would enforce actually this green transition that we're going through. So in this scenario, in the story of the European Union, technology is not necessarily the end, but it's the means to achieve the end, which is climate neutrality. At the same time, if I go back to the digital level, the way in which the European Union is shaping our story related to technology is put into these two documents that I put there, the digital decade and the digital principles. So the European Union is the first entity around the world creating and establishing and actually putting forward, it's called a European Declaration for Digital Rights and Principles that will actually enforce, that will be enforced in policies at the European, national and local level as well. So everything that you do online, all the technologies that you create and use should be based on this push that the European Union is doing towards promoting a value-based digital society. This is the key term that the EU is pushing. So how does it translate these policies from the European level, which is kind of bureaucratic, technocratic, and sometimes very boring? How does it translate it to the local level, to the national and local level? So first, they depend on the states, but the states normally do what they want. They don't really want to implement what the EU is pushing for. But they also focus on the local level, on the cities. And how do they do that? And I put here two examples of initiatives that the European Commission is pushing for to promote this value-based society digital society at the local level. One is called the Mission for Climate Neutral and Smart Cities in the EU, and the second one is the Intelligent Cities Competition. The mission is something very interesting. They have selected 100 cities across the European Union, and they are going to fund them over the next 8 to 10 years. They're going to fund them to test and implement solutions that would make them climate neutral. And by 2030, at least some of these 100 cities that are going to that are part of the mission should achieve climate neutrality. The second one is the Intelligent Cities Competition. It's kind of a framework in which cities kind of copy technologies and policies and ideas off of each other. We have mentor cities. For instance, Valencia is a mentor city that is showing other cities around the European Union what to do, how to implement these technologies to make the city smart, and actually now it's intelligent cities. So this is the map of the cities of being part of this Intelligent Cities competition. They vary a little bit across the European Union. Spain actually has the most cities that are trying to learn how to be smart. For instance, I know Valencia is one mentor city, but across the coast here, there are a lot of small cities that are trying to learn how to be smart, and they're creating a dialogue amongst each other to actually copy policies of each other. What is more interesting from my perspective is this new mission. It's called a mission policy because it's a mission policy is like kind of a moonshot. It's a concerted effort by local authorities or any kind of authority pushing forward to one main goal. The main goal is to achieve climate neutrality. And these are the cities that have been selected across the European Union to be part of this mission. This result has actually been announced, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we have cities across the European Union. So, for instance, Croatia has only Zagreb, but Romania has 3 cities. Actually, I don't know how they did that, but that's part of a different discussion. Hungary has 3 cities: it's Budapest, Miskolc, and Pécs. The basic idea is that they're going to receive funding directly from the European Commission to test solutions, technological solutions to achieve climate neutrality. So they are going to sign a contract. It's called a mission contract, where they are going to assume certain things that they're going to do across these 10 years. Test solutions, implement collaborative governance, and so on, with the expected goal that by 2030 they would be climate neutral. You can compare it a little bit with this. That's why I said it's a moonshot, because this is how JFK pushed for a landing on the moon. He said, we're going to embark on this mission to go to the moon by the end of the decade. It's the same idea, the same type of policy. Good. So now I'm translating to the local level, and I would like to focus on, okay, so this is what the EU is doing. What can the cities do, both independently, but also from the European Union, with support from the European Union? And I'd actually like to ask some questions here. So please either scan this QR code or go to menti.com and introduce the code. May I use the computer here to, okay, good. So you're going to have 2 questions there. The first one is, how smart do you think your city is? And in the meantime, I'm going to is it working? Ah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the entire screen is shared. Yeah. I forgot to log in. Add here. Add. Oh.
Dobra, ale chcę do tego
It's unexpected a little bit. Did you manage to enter? Yes.
Can you show me the code again?
Yes. Okay. Or you can enter just the numbers and enter menti.com and use the numbers. Okay. Has everybody voted?
Yes.
Okay, let me return. I want to see the results, if I may. So I have 20 votes. This is a little bit disappointing, I must say. So the majority of the people who voted said that it's 3, it's neither nor. Why did you say 3? Those who said 3. And why do you think it's neither smart nor stupid?
I would say it has the minimum technology, or like, I don't know, minimum innovative areas, and like you wouldn't feel that you're troubled when you're there, but you wouldn't feel like there is something making your life easier.
That's a good point. But what do you see? I mean, can you be more specific? You said minimal requirements. What's minimal for you?
It's hard.
I know it's hard. That's why I asked the question. Anybody else?
It's like for me, in my city, for example, like the traffic is working, but sometimes not. For me, it's like free. You
Okay.
know. Also, like we have like green areas. For example, you can charge a mobile phone or things like that. But I know that Valencia is better than my hometown, but it's for me it's like free, not good.
It's neither nor.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're focused on urban mobility and green stuff, so charging, recharging, and so on. Okay, energy.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else? One more answer. Maybe those who said it's not smart at all. I'm curious about that. Yes.
Yeah, for example, like in my hometown, we had like bad principles of the city. One was corrupted, and the second one is like doing nothing. It was like 10 years, so that's like one big issue. Then I think there are no like Carlos said, like some innovations there. You can't charge your phone. We don't have green areas. We have, but not really. They do not keep an eye on them and all those stuff. Yeah, so it's not very.
So for you, smart would be also related to people. Yeah, to have something. But you also mentioned people. I mean, people are not doing it right. You said the implementation is wrong or not existing at all.
So, for example, the city does not support the electric charger for the cars. Actually, like we have one in our city, maybe two, and also just the private companies supporting. So they have like McDonald's and and one petrol station does have it, and they do not like have some funds for the greenway in the city. Like now they have bought new buses on CNG. So it's like not even electric. And you not think about trolley bus, for example.
But is there an overall strategy that kind of guides these initiatives? Is there and no implementation?
Well, there is one initiative, but they have no power actually. It's just an initiative group of people in our city. They try to be loud, like to fight for the European values actually.
But there is no collaboration with the administration.
No, because they are like opposition to the principle.
Okay, of course, yeah. I'm very much familiar with this story, so that's why I know what you mean. Okay, so it's fascinating. But what I wanted to achieve with this first question, because there's another one, is that people see smart in a different way. So for some of you, it's green. For some of you, it's the importance of people being involved, but for some of you, it's just being, I don't know, charging your phone, just having technology at their disposal all across the city. This is a very important aspect in relation to the story of smart cities, because everybody wants different things, authorities want different things, but also the EU wants different things. And I'm going to show you in a minute briefly that the theoretical aspect of smart cities is also divided. So you may have the impression that smart is this, and this, but in reality, the literature on the topic and also the administrations and the European Union are telling different stories, and they don't always converge. Okay, the second question, because there is another one, related to what you see is what is different. What smart city initiatives do you know in your city? And you can vote there for several. I limited them because there are a bunch, but I just want to see if is it working? Is the survey working? Okay. I have 11 votes. Last time 20 people voted, so I'm going to wait until we have the same number, so it's specific.
Even more.
No, it's 14 now. 14. Last time 20 people. until everybody else votes, I have one question. Do you think out of these options that I gave you, do you think there's something that should not be part of a smart city or should not be included? Something that is kind of not related to the idea of smart cities? No? I'm just curious. There is no right or wrong answer. I'm curious about your opinion.
Can you repeat again?
Yeah, so out of these, I don't know, 7 things that I put here, is there any initiative that should not be included into the universe of smart cities?
Maybe incubators are not always smart.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
We also think that platform is a right.
Okay, yeah, it is wide, but I'm just thinking of not necessarily the digital twin idea. I'm thinking about, I don't know, having a platform where you can follow, I don't know, how many or what the waste management system is, or how is the traffic in some part of the area. That's just a normal, regular data platform. Okay. Anything else? No? I'm asking again just to reinforce this idea that smart is different for different people. So for instance, in Romania, in my country, incubators are a big part of the story of smart cities. So if you don't have a smart or some kind of incubator, if you're not really pushing forward to this ecosystem of startups and so on that would kind of make the city more livable, but more entrepreneurial and hence more smarter. So that's why I'm saying this. But I was actually thinking that maybe you would answer that this collaborative initiatives, like working together with the citizens, is not part of the smart city. So I'm glad that you didn't say this. So this question, and I'm going to go back to the lecture now, just showcases that we see smart cities in a different way. And let me return now to the. I think I only have like 15 minutes left, right?
18.
18 or 15? 3 minutes are important.
18.
Okay, thank you very much. So I wanted to answer also this question: what is a smart city? So I put here 3 types of views of smart cities. So the first one is very popular one. It's called from Gittinger et al. It's a research by the Vienna Institute of Technology put in 2007, where they mapped all the smart cities, the medium, small and medium-sized smart cities in Europe, and they came up with this indicator, or these we call them in Romanian verticals, of what makes a city smart. So you can implement a strategy based on their idea by implementing solutions based on these 6 pillars: government, living, mobility, people, economy, environment. And it's so popular that, for instance, in Romania, the Cohesion funds for 2021-2027 for smart cities are financed on these 6 verticals. So you can only implement projects that would reinforce these verticals. And what is very weird, in my opinion, it's that smart people initiatives are less significant. So if I don't know, if there are 100 projects that have the same point system, because it's a competition, and maybe, I don't know, 20 of them are for smart people and encouraging governance with people, they get less points because it's smart people, yeah? Which is weird, I know, but they want to reinforce this idea that smart city is a city with mobility, with the government, with e-government initiatives, and so on. The second main point of view from the literature comes from this guy. His name is Hollands. He has a paper entitled "Will the Real Smart City Stand Up?" like from the Eminem song, you know. And and he said that smart cities. The name is actually the paper. It's called like this. So look it up. So he said that smart cities in this ecosystem, they're technologically led urban utopias. They actually don't exist because it's not normal to try to solve all the problems in a city just by using technology. He says that like inequality issues cannot be solved with technology. And this is an open question. Maybe we can discuss about this at the end. If you really think that technology can solve inequality issues or exclusion, if people are excluded or segregated in some parts of the city. And this is his idea that you can't really label a city as smart just by adopting sophisticated IT and promoting yourself with a very flashy website. So his main conclusion is that cities should not be tech-led, they should be human-led. So humans should decide how to solve technology, how to solve the problems, but not only by using technology. The third main concept, which is related to the principles of the European Union and the Digital Rights Declaration, is called the human-centric smart city. It's a German perspective, and they focus on collaborative aspects. So the city is as smart as the collaborations that they promote, and it has 3 pillars. So the city has a very inclusive data governance strategy. So the data that you gather as a city should be available, open, should be used for experimentation, and should be reinforcing the rights of people, like accepting the rights to privacy and confidentiality, and should be secure. And the third pillar is administrative capacity. So people implementing these strategies should also be smart, because as you probably know, bureaucrats and people working in administration, they don't really understand what technology is and should actually work. They don't understand, they just want to implement it. And they really focus on this third aspect of administrative capacity. So people implementing should be very mindful of the needs of the city, the needs of the people, and the city should be adopting a public value or human-oriented approach. So in the same way that you're doing your case studies, and you have to argue that your project is focusing on solving some kind of sustainable development goal, the same thing should be valid for the human-centric smart city. So I just want to use this perspective of human-centric smart cities to make a parallel with what the European Union wants to do in terms of digital society. So I said they promote a value-based digital society, and these are the six major pillars of the declaration. First things first, people should be at the center of digital transformation. People should be included. People should be safe online, and they should be empowered when they act with technology. So, for instance, main policy of the European Union is to prohibit any kind of AI-based surveillance. Or we should be informed that our data or some kind of decision is being on ourselves is being made by an AI. So that's empowerment. So the next thing is participation. So they should be involved in democratic processes online. Yeah. Safety and security and sustainability. And just shortly, I made this parallel between what the principles of the EU are and what the story of human-centric smart cities. Is there a parallel between them? And should you as future engineers and people implementing these technologies, should you be focusing on these values, or how you should put these values into your technologies? Yeah? So people at the center is the main pillar of the digital rights declaration. In the case of the human-centric smart cities, the goal is public value for humans, not anything else. The declaration says that applications are inclusive, they help solve societal challenges and do not reproduce harmful or socioeconomic biases. This is related to empowerment. The same thing is in smart cities, human-centric. Everything has to be related to solving humans' needs, not necessarily implementing tech for the sake of it. Values, the principles related to participation. People should be involved in co-creation of policies. They should co-produce policies. So, participative urbanism, participative budget initiatives. People should be able to, use technology to solve problems in their neighborhood, in their neck of the woods, because it's closer to them, and they know best what the problems are in their city. Yeah? And this doesn't happen. I mean, in Romania, this is kind of parallel universes. Yeah. Next thing, control over data, as I said, safety and security, and freedom of choice. Again, pillars of the Digital Rights Declaration. The human-centric vision focuses on this data governance that I told you about, that is open and involves citizens. So I'm going to show you briefly a case study with a data platform in a city that I studied that encourages citizen experimentation with the data. So they open the data platform for students, for citizens, and they say, okay, maybe you have a problem in the city. You have this data, work with it, play with it, and see how you can solve the problem. And of course, all these principles should be at the foundation of any kind of project or policy in a smart city. So, brief case study on a city that I lived in and analyzed in terms of smart city governance and so on. It's a very small city outside of Frankfurt. You would miss it if you would go to Frankfurt. But it was called Germany's first digital city. They won a competition to experiment and innovate with digital technologies in their city. It has a vibrant young community. You have a lot of two big universities. The Tech University in Darmstadt is very powerful, one of the most important in the country. So this is the short profile of Darmstadt, and the official name is City of Science, Darmstadt. This is how it's called. It's not Darmstadt, but City of Science, because it started with the science profile, and then moved to the digital profile. So the strategy of Darmstadt Digitalstadt is based on these 4 principles that they really emulate the digital principles strategy. So it should be participative, sustainable, so focusing on green technology, added value for everybody, secure and future-oriented. I'm not going to go too much into it, because you can see the parallels with the EU digital principles. They did something more than just winning the competition and having money to implement projects. They created this system of governance that is really fascinating for me. So they are the only city in Germany, and probably in Europe, as far as I know, that has an ethical guidance council. So they created an ethics code for the digital transformation of the city, and the administration has willingly stated that they are going to bounce a little bit the potential of the technology against the ethical guidelines. The ethical council is made of politicians, academics, citizens, but they are knowledgeable of technology. They focus a lot on intersectoral collaboration. Universities are always a part of the discussion, and citizens are part of the discussion, and I'm going to show you in a minute how. So a couple of examples of projects. So they have this data platform that is open, and they launch competitions and hackathons for citizens to play with the data, as I said. So in a sense, the view is that the city is the lab to test IoT solutions, but based on these ethical principles and the values that they are pushing forward. So I talked to the vice rector of one of the universities, and he said, and also with the people in administration, he said, we don't want to implement black box programs. First, because we don't know what's inside of them, black box algorithms, sorry. We don't know how they function, and it costs us more if we don't know how it functions, because we're always dependent upon the company that provides us the technology. So they did it a little bit differently, and pushed more on incentivizing local companies and to produce technologies. So for instance, they have a traffic assistant that tells them when, I don't know, when the traffic is green, the traffic lights are green, and so on. They have cybersecurity trainings across the city. It's called a platform. Blij waksam means stay alert, and you go through a training as a regular citizen just understand how technology works. They have courses for the elderly, so they know how to use technology. And they have courses for the people who are mentally impaired. So they try to teach technology for people who don't really understand, I don't know, and have trouble processing the reality in general. It was really fascinating for me as well. And citizen participation and co-creation is important. I really like this app that they're doing. It's called the Darmstadt in Hetzen. I don't know if you have some kind of app like this. It's like Uber, but for things that you have around the house. Not Uber, but maybe Airbnb for things that you have around the house. So if you have some kind of tools that you only use maybe once every 3 months, you put them on the platform, and if your neighbor wants to use some tool, he's not going to buy it, he's going to share it from you. So it's a sharing app meant to bring citizens together, and I find it really interesting. So of course they also have a living lab where they test solutions, and they have all kinds of hackathons with students and regular citizens, and they really push for citizen involvement. So for instance, they told me that if people don't participate, they have a database of people living in public housing, and they draw random names, and they send them invites to the post to invite them to participate in citizen consultations, which for me was kind of sci-fi. This would never happen in my city. Good. And finally, I think I'm right on schedule. Some of the main takeaways that I wanted to show you. So smart cities are a story, but it's not really shared by all of us. Yeah, they are not just a vehicle for digital transformation, but also for the transmission of some kind of principles and policies. Yeah? But everything is based on the idea that leaders, citizens, as I said, see smart cities in their own way. Yeah? There's this movement now toward these human-centric smart cities, parallel with this idea of the European Union to use digital transformation to enforce values and to enforce the value-based digital transformation, and as a result, at the local level, human-centric smart cities. Thank you. Questions, comments?
Well, I think, for example, you said that, for example, your neighbor can get maybe something like that. I think this is more like ethical obligation in some societies.
That could, yeah, because you don't encourage mass consumption. That was the idea behind the app, as they told me. It makes no sense for you to buy a tool if you're only going to use it once every 4 months. And it was really cool that they thought of it. And it was thought inside the administration. There wasn't, I don't know, an entrepreneur coming out from outside and saying, hey, you should do this app. They thought of it inside the administration.
That's what creates the main difference, is that it's about people, not about.
Exactly, and it should be. It should be about. But there's this view of, I don't know, it's called in the literature business-led smart cities, just companies trying to sell technology just for the sake of it, just to sell it, but not necessarily have a reasoning for the city, yeah, just to sell it. Yeah, and this is valid in Romania, in my country.
Can I ask also,
yes.
Is the ethical guidance, it is working? Like, because for me, I cannot imagine like how it can work.
So I asked the same question to the dean of the Darmstadt Applied. He's now the director of the Darmstadt University of Applied Sciences, and he said, well, ethics guidance is not mandatory, but the mayor promised us that he and his administration would follow. And the ethical council, so they met just at the beginning of the project. They created this ethical guidelines, so it's a document, yeah, saying all kinds of principles. And the people in the administration, they have a public company like the water and electricity company, they have a digital transformation company, they say that they do it. It's not always the case, because you also have to balance cost efficiency and so on, definitely. But it also depends upon the people inside the public company, if they want to do it or not. But the sign for me that they were thinking of this in their own way was the fact that they won this competition. The competition was sponsored by companies, by German companies, and they decided not to take their technologies, and not all of them, and create their own, which was for me kind of, it's a sign that it's kind of working, or it should work. Yeah.
May I ask, because we see you present is a special case where the population is like young and know what basically engineering is, but if I take like the example of the city where I was born, mostly of the people are old, and maybe there is one person out of 6 who know what a data center is. So how could you like make them trust into technology? It's like a collaborative thing between all the people of the city, but I know it can be like with this lack of trust, like a opposition to all that, and so any project could not work with it. So.
I understand what you mean, and I think the idea has 2 layers. So first, how I talked to the people in the administration, they told me that yes, the city is young and it's a little bit cosmopolitan, because students from all over the world come to the tech university. But he said, well, they are not the majority of the people participating in consultations. They are not really interested, especially the younger ones. The main concerns and are adults and even older people. So, and what they did just to build this trust, when they created this strategy to become the first digital city, the lady in charge of this strategy told me that they organized kind of a town meeting. They called citizens from the city, all kinds of ages and neighborhoods and so on. And one of the first things that they did was to give people a piece of paper and ask them to write all the fears and all the problems that they have with technology. And they started with that. It's a way to build trust, to say, okay, what are you afraid? And I'm going to match this and maybe not do exactly the thing that you're afraid of. Because people wrote, well, I'm afraid that technology is going to replace me, or I'm afraid that I'm not going to know how to use this technology to pay my taxes. And one of the principles resulting after this discussion was digital, yes, but mandatory, no. So they are offering digital solutions, for instance, for tax purposes and so on, but it's they still have this offline offering for the people who are not necessarily, I don't know, tech savvy, yeah. And that's why they also do this digital media education. They have courses for older people and so on. So they balance things out. And if you look at it from an economic point of view, it's not really cost efficient because you're keeping 2 ways of paying taxes, online and offline. But they want to do this precisely just to create the trust. Thank you. Anything else?
Can I ask,
Yeah.
do you know the web page for the data for the cities?
Yeah, it's so if you look online, Digital Stadt, so DIGI, Digital Stadt in German, Darmstadt, they give you the site of the strategy and the digital, and there is a link there for the data.
Okay.
It's not that extended, yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know, I saw presentations from Microsoft doing the same thing from cities in France and so on. It's not as...
We can play with that, so...
Yeah, I think you can, I mean, they said you can ask for it. I mean, I was there in 2020. I don't know if they really implemented it, yeah. But you can try.
Okay.
I have a question. So first of all, really nice presentation.
Thank you.
But one of the main problems that I have is you just named all the things how it should be.
Yeah.
But it isn't. And everyone knows how it should be ideal, but no one is acting on it.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested in, how can I contribute to kickstart the change? Because I didn't get the answer for that question.
That's a very good point. And so, and it's a very difficult question. So I can ask only, maybe I can answer from a citizen perspective, but I can think also from maybe how a politician would answer to this question, because I talk to people implementing it. So as a citizen, you can, I don't know, maybe what I do. So back home in Romania, I have a small website where I write about these things, and I share it with people interested in the topic, and they kind of, the regular people, it's not really that well read and so on. It's not
like I'm reading her
it's
website.
not viral.
I'm reading her website.
It's not viral or something because I'm not doing clickbait, but people are starting to think, well, why don't we do it like this? Or why don't we do it like that? Because I have a section on smart cities and say, well, you should not do this, this, and this because it's not, you're not involving citizens and so on. So that's one thing maybe that I'm doing. Another thing is, if there is in your city, I don't know, consultations, the minimum requirements for any policy is, one of the minimum requirements is transparency. So whenever your administration is doing something, they have to tell you, they have to inform you, and they have to organize consultations on topics. Either, I don't know, topography, digital stuff, social stuff, they have to do it. Yeah. So one thing is to really research what they're consulting you about, and just go there and say your opinion. Because in the example of my city, the administration says, well, we don't really do consultations because in the consultations only people who oppose projects participate, and it kind of messes up our flow. But that's a very wrong way of thinking about it. But if people come and say, well, I agree, but let's do extra and not be just opposed, then it's a good, it might be a good change. Of course, it's only one person, but I mean, one person even matters, I think. I'm a naive, maybe. Yeah. And as a politician, they would say, well, you voted for us. You have to trust us that we're doing the nice things. I disagree, because they say one thing, and when they have to implement this, they're only thinking of cost efficiency. So everything has to be cost effective and save me money. But technology is not only about saving money, it's also about something else. I don't know if I answered the question, but it's just my naive way of seeing it. But very good question. Anything else? Yeah.
I would ask a question.
Yeah.
About you talk about data platforms where some public data are stopped, but one of the main problem I think currently about data, especially in Europe, that we don't have any power on it because it's like stuck on towards
Yeah.
American servers.
Yeah.
So even if there is like one of the best points about data privacy in Europe, we know that it's impossible for us to have full power on it.
Definitely. Yeah.
And how can you, how do you think that people could have trust
in the data platform?
Yeah, how could you, how did you say, make them assured, give them assurance about the privacy, the complete privacy of the data when much people like accept cookies without thinking about it.
Again, very good point. It's a very good point. So maybe I could go back to this human-centric view. So cities should have a data governance policy that should involve citizens as well. So you could have maybe an oversight council with representatives of the local civil society that would oversee what is happening with the data. So as far as I know, the example from Darmstadt is not, they don't have like AWS, or they don't have Azure, or they have their own data centers. Yeah. So if you're really maybe paranoid about the American storage and servers, store it in your own, or in at least in a European data server. But one thing, just to ensure trust, because I know trust is very important in digital transformation, and it's one of the key aspects of technology, is to have some kind of oversight of the people of the data, because the philosophy of the EU is that we are owners of the data. We are not handing it over. So citizens should be involved in the data governance policy. But again, administration, I don't know if they understand what data governance is. Yeah. That's also a political question.
The education maybe worked with
Definitely, yeah. Yeah. Especially, as you said, if people accept cookies without thinking.
And it's all because, like, I'm repeatedly 100% people are too tired to read every condition. So.
Yeah, but they're going to change this in Europe. So they're going to ban dark patterns. So you're going to have, it's going to be mandatory to have refused cookies in the cookie banner. As of, I think in 6 months, it's going to be mandatory. Yeah, with the Digital Services Act. Okay. Good. I think that's it.
Any other questions? So once again, thank you very much, Mirela and Istvan.
Yeah.
Thank you.